clothesandstuff.com. Welcome back to the channel to all of my subscribers, and welcome to all of my new viewers today. So today I wanted to share with you my review of Vogue 1036. And I decided to sew up this pattern in connection with my good sewing friend on Instagram and YouTube, Nateida of SewNaturalDane. So I noticed that she had this pattern on one of her videos, and I already had the pattern in my stash as well. I picked up this pattern back in 2018 at the D-Stash Baltimore. And so I was so glad to see someone else had this pattern, because this pattern is from 2008. And so, but you can still pick it up on Etsy. I've seen it on Etsy, and I'm sure you could probably find it on eBay or Amazon as well. So anyway, we decided to go ahead and sew it up together since we both had the pattern. So let me tell you about this pattern. So this, let me show you the picture first. So this is the pattern, is Vogue 1036, and it's the Sandra Betzina pattern. And I really loved all of the details of this pattern. So this pattern is described as a semi-fitted pattern, jacket pattern that comes to hip level, and it can be collared or collarless. It has princess seams. It has overlay pockets. It has two-part sleeves. Now the two parts are, one part is here and then the other part is the bottom of the cuff instead of like split in the middle to make the two parts. And then it has a lot of top stitching detail and a curved hemline. So I really love all of the details with this pattern, and the directions were amazing. So the pattern does come in sizes A through, I believe, A through J. So she does a different kind of pattern sizing instead of the 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 type size patterns. Hers are in alphabetical order, but you can still figure out your size based on your measurements. And the measurements are for bust sizes of 32 inches to 55 inches. And then it also includes hips of 34.5 inches to 57 inches. So a really good size range there. And I decided to sew a size C. I did a quick tissue fit of the pattern, and I double checked the measurement, the body measurements to the finished measurements, and I decided to go with a size C. At first I was going to go with a D because I was kind of in between sizes, because the size C is for a bust of 36, which is my bust size, and then the D is for a bust of 38. So I was thinking about, and I'm right at a 36, so I was thinking about doing a D, but after looking at the finished bust measurements on the pattern sheet, I decided to go with the version C, because there's quite a bit of ease in the pattern. So and I believe Nateida as well decided to go down the size as well, because there's a lot of ease in the pattern. So just make sure you probably go with your exact measurement to choose this pattern. So I went with the size C, and I also did a quick tissue fit, and I pop in a clip right here of a little bit of my little tissue fitting process. Okay, so I'm tissue fitting this jacket, and it looks like it's gonna fit pretty well with the size C. The shoulders look a little wide, so I'm gonna take a 1/4 inch off of that, and then the waistline is here, and I think it should be like a little bit up, so I'm gonna go up 1.5 inches here. So it should hit me here where I go in. So that's what I think it'll be fine. So after I tissue fit the pattern, I use this Fit for Real People tissue fitting method that I learned in my sewing class. So that's the pattern. That's the method that I use to fit a lot of my patterns. And anyway, what you do is you mark the seam allowances at 5/8 or whatever your seam allowance is, and then you pin the pattern together, wrong sides together, and you place it against your body. And then that's how you can kind of get a gauge of how the pattern is going to fit you. So after I did the quick tissue fit of the pattern, I only made a few changes. I just brought up the brought up the bodice piece by 1.25 inches, and then also the sleeve pieces. I raised the upper sleeve piece by 1.25 inches, just for my height and everything. And other than that, those are the only changes that I made. So the fabric that I use is called Black Antique Denim, and it's from Move Fabrics, and it has a nice little a kind of like a striated look to it, like kind of like a pre-distressed kind of look to it. And I really like that look, because I'm not into the like ripped jeans look. I do like a little bit of distressed look, but no holes or rips or anything. So I like how this has like a kind of stone washed distressed look already, kind of in the fabric already. So I really like this fabric from Mood, and I'll leave a link in the description box to this fabric below. So anyway, so that's the fabric. And then the next thing I want to share with you is the construction. So this pattern had 19 pattern pieces. 19 pattern pieces. So at first I was gonna go ahead and trace out the pattern because it's an older pattern, but there were just too many pieces. So I just went on, and after I finished the trench coat, I had finished tracing out the trench coat. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description box if you missed that video. But anyway, after I traced out that 19 pieces with that one, 12 pieces on that pattern, I said I didn't have it in me to trace out another pattern. So anyway, I just cut out the pieces for the pattern. So anyway, there were 19 pattern pieces. So let me tell you about some of the pattern pieces. So you had your front, you had a side front, you have a side back, then you had your back, then you had a pocket overlay. And you had a pocket overlay, because it basically overlays over this side front piece. And then you had a separate pocket lining piece and a pocket interfacing piece. Then you also had a collar piece. You had the upper sleeve, and then there were 3 parts to the lower sleeve. So you can tell there was let me show you. So you can see there's like the style of it. There's this center section right here, and then there were 2 pieces to the side for the front of the sleeve piece, and then you had just a plain back for the back piece. So there were 3 main pieces for just the bottom part of the sleeve, and then you had a lot of facing pieces. So, and it included, you can make this pattern either lined or unlined, and I decided to go with the lined version, and there were separate pattern pieces for the lining. Okay, so here's the inside of the jacket. So you had your inside, the front facing pieces, you had your undercollar, you also had separate lining pieces. So you had your side front lining piece, you had your side back lining piece, then your back lining piece. This wasn't cut on the fold, this was just cut in one piece right here. And then you also had sleeve facing pieces right here. So there were a ton of pattern pieces, but it wasn't that hard. Sandra Betzina's directions were awesome. She walks you through every step. She gives you a whole lot of tips. She even explains that if you're caught, she explains how to get your points to really be sharp. She says put a needle through the corner to pull out the collar piece. I never heard of that tip before. She also said if it still won't lay down, get a hammer and hammer it down. So I mean, she gave so many wonderful tips. So if you run across the Sandra Betzina pattern, I highly recommend you go ahead and pick it up. So yeah, so and then you had your back hemline. Can you move it back? You had your back hemline piece, and then you also had your front hemline piece, and it's a nice curve. You can see there's a nice curve to it over here, and it kind of curves up in the back. I really loved all of the details of this pattern. So if you run across this pattern and you want to sew a jean jacket, I really highly recommend it. And the main thing that drew me to this pattern was that it has side pockets, because my favorite jean jacket has these little teeny pockets that are pretty useless. So, and a lot of jean jackets I noticed don't come with pockets. And I like to have just a little pocket in case I don't want to carry a purse and I just want to carry my keys and my phone. And this is enough to fit my keys and a phone in, so I could just get out the door in my little wallet. And if I just want to take a credit card, you know, my license and credit card in a little mini wallet, I could do that with these little pockets. And I like that they're a nice size. So I am so in love with this pattern. And then finally it comes with, you add snaps. And I just use a Dritz snap set, the heavy duty snaps that I picked up from Joann. So really easy to apply. And the snap tool comes with all the directions to go ahead and make snaps on it. So you just put a little hole in it and then you press down the snap studs. Super easy. And then there's a lot of top stitching as well. So I would say this pattern is more for an advanced beginner at the at the easiest. And if you just have to take your time. I find that with patterns that have a lot of pattern pieces, this construction is not always that hard. It just takes time. You just have to put the time in and just take two or three steps a day and just keep coming back to it to keep it going. So each little piece had to be, a lot of the different sections had to be, once you sewed it, you had to go ahead and top stitch it. So there was top stitching here on the shoulders, top stitching on the collar. She said you could choose how many rows of collar top stitching rows that you want to do. I decided to do 2 rows. There's top stitching along the princess seams. There's 3 rows of top stitching along the pocket. Two rows. I did 2 rows of top stitching along the hemband and all the way along the bottom. And then on the front, there's also top stitching right along the front. And then on the back, there's also top stitching on the princess seams on the back. So I love all the details of this pattern. So and then there's also top stitching on the sleeve. So there was top stitching on all 3 of the little sections for the bottom sleeve. So I would advise, if you have more than one sewing machine, this is the perfect time to go ahead and use your different machines. And you don't need anything fancy for this. So for this pattern, I decided to use my Viking sewing machine for the main stitching, and then I use my old Bernina. This is like a 1970s Bernina record, 730. I can never remember the number. So I use my Bernina record for the 730 because my big Bernina has been giving me a little bit of tension problems and I need to take it in. So anyway, I decided to use those 2 machines, but it doesn't matter what machine you have. If you've never done top stitching, I would say go ahead and do some practice top stitching first, because there's a lot of top stitching. I did mine all at 3 millimeters for the top stitching. And the thread that I use, so the thread that I use is this Coats & Clark, the dual duty heavy. So that's what I use for my top stitching. And then I just use Gutermann black thread for the for all the other seams. And then I also, because I don't really like doing stitch in a ditch, so I think at one point they told you to stitch in a ditch here, but I decided I did a hand sewed the inside of the hemband in, and then I went and did the top stitching on the front. So So I just did that for the inside. And I like the way it turned out, and you don't have any weirdness showing through. And so for the top stitching thread, I did have to go in and tie off a knot so that you don't get a bunch of big bumps and double, you know, back stitch stitches to show, so it'll all be nice and even. So anyway, that is my review of the Vogue 1036, and if you can pick up this pattern, I highly recommend it. Now I definitely want to sew many more jean jackets. This is one of my goals for this year, was to sew a jean jacket, and so I'm glad I got it made. I really love it. I know I'll be wearing it a lot. I definitely want to make a blue version, a blue denim version, as well as maybe I do have the other gold denim as well, but I don't know if I'm gonna use the exact same pattern. There's a couple other jean jacket patterns that I'm looking at, so including like the Rebecca Page denim jacket, because it has a lot of options. So I haven't decided which jean jacket is going to be my next jean jacket, but I definitely want to sew more, because even though this took a long time and it was a lot of steps and a lot of pieces, it was totally worth the end result. I just really love this jacket. So now let me show you some pics and twirls on the deck of me wearing this cool denim jacket. So that is my review of Vogue 1036. Make sure you head over to Nateida's channel at SewNaturalDane, and I'll leave a link to her video in the description box so you can check it out. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you won't miss any of my upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you dropping by today. Take care. Bye.